In last lecture, we have introduced PostCSS and the Tailwind. In this one, I would like to show you what output we are getting produced by PostCSS. All right, let's see our file, our main CSS, because currently you can see we are providing Tailwind, base, Tailwind, components, Tailwind, utilities. This with the @ sign is called a directive. That's a specific syntax for a Tailwind, and this will unwind into the actual CSS stylings, okay, into actual CSS classes. Okay, but this will be transformed by the Tailwind itself. Okay, so how we can check what stylings we are getting here? We should, in our build folder, which is your .next folder, you should see the stylings provided by this, so we can take a look, or we can install PostCSS CLI and we can generate the output from this, so you can actually see it. This will be just purely, it will serve as example for you, so you will trust me that we are getting just actual normal CSS that can be executed in the browser. Okay, so first let's try to find some of the classes we already have generated, because everything is generated into the next folder. So let's find some specific classes for Tailwind. So in our Tailwind CSS, in the documentation, let's find some specific classes. Let's say display, let's scroll down here. We can use class, let's say space -y-4, and I will search for it in the next folder. So I'll copy it, and I will search here in the next folder. So let's search here, find in folder, space, and you can see already here that in our, actually it is in app.js, that's a file that has been generated, and you can see all of these utility classes, and it's lagging for a little bit, but all of these classes are defined here, margin rights, all right, and all of these utility classes are defined here. That's the Tailwind, what Tailwind provides. Container. It's very hard to read, so I will also generate the file for you so you can see it. But for this, we need to install one thing. Let's go to terminal. And let's install here, clear it out first, npm install --save -dev. So it's a development dependency. Let's write here post css-cli. Okay, and with this command, we'll be able to generate the CSS. Okay. So let's go back here, and I will write a command for it in a package.json, just a testing command, and I will call it, let's say, build CSS, build-css or build column CSS. All right. And let's write here a command of the post-CSS, since we have a CLI and we can use a post-CSS command. We can access our styles in the assets folder, our main CSS. So let's write here assets/main CSS. I'll make it wider. Okay, -o for output, and I will choose the output file. So this will be assets/main _ let's say gen for a generated .css, or a main browser. Let's go with main browser CSS. Okay, so we are using command post-CSS. We are taking as the input this main CSS file with this all of this syntax related to a Tailwind, and we are producing a new output in the assets, the main browser.css file. So this should process the CSS and output what we will get. Okay, so this will be our CSS will be processed with all the plugins, and the new CSS will be outputted. Okay, when we want to use this command purely with the post-CSS, we need to do one tiny change, guys. Okay, we need to change configuration of our post-CSS, not much, but just a little bit. You need to comment this out. But first, let's copy it, okay? So let's copy it first, let's comment it out, and you need to write this module export a little bit differently. When you want to use it separately from Next.js, you need to specify your plugins, but the plugins will be like this. It will define require Tailwind CSS. Okay, this I will write a comment just for testing. Okay, this is the normal way how we should be doing it, but just to show you how we can generate this, I will be using this. All right, so now we can save it and we can generate it. So let's go to terminal. I'll clear it out, and let's run here command npm run build CSS. Let's run this, and this should provide a new output. Okay, so you can see processing, outputting. Now I will go here, and in the assets folder, you should have here this main _ browser CSS, and this basically output what we have gotten from the Tailwind directives. Okay, so Tailwind directive unwinded on all of these utility classes for us. Okay, and each of these utility classes belongs to its own bucket, to its own group of the stylings. So you have a bucket of the base stylings, you have a bucket of the component stylings, and a bucket of the utilities stylings, and all of this is here provided here. If I would provide it here just a base stylings, so the classes wouldn't be provided, and so on. Okay. So yeah, it's a lot of stylings. You can see there is 146,000. Okay, I can go even more, 175,000 of the lines of the purely stylings. Of course, in the end, this is minified into this version you could see in our next folder. So it's minified, and all of the spaces and the lines are removed and they are joined together. But you can see here there is no magic to it, right? We are writing the CSS, and then it's processed by the PostCss and the Tailwind, and that's what we will get in the end here. Okay, so that's just what I want to show you. So now we can close it. We close everything, and I will simply revert this what we had in a post config, so we can still work in our application. Okay, so we'll comment it out, and this. All right, we can save it, and let's run our project normally as before. npm run dev. And yeah, after that we'll be able to go here, let's refresh, and that should be it. So let's continue next lecture, and let's start working finally on our application, on our styling. So see you next lecture, guys. Cheers.